This is what's difficult to explain to bar and bat mitzvah students. When I have the b'nai mitzvah in my office before their celebrations, I explain to them that what we are celebrating is the fact that they are now responsible for the mitzvot. And this is actually what's so difficult, because the contemporary understanding of what it means to be an adult is that the child is now emancipated from the authority of their parents, and the child now can do whatever they want to do because they're an adult, they're independent. And the Jewish definition of adulthood is the exact opposite. Now you're an adult, now you have to do 613 commandments. Now you are more responsible than ever. But this idea is actually one of the most foundational ideas of Judaism, and it's found in this week's Torah reading. Because after 4 Parshiot that tell the narrative of the Exodus, that talk about the importance of freedom, of not being a slave, of being free of oppression, being free of tyranny, we now turn to this week's Parsha, where the Jews stand at the foot of Mount Sinai, and they hear the 10 commandments from God, and they accept upon themselves the mitzvot. And the meaning of this week's Parsha is that freedom alone is not enough. For most of us, we understand that freedom means liberty from, that we do not have to submit to the authority of a tyrant and a despot, that we should not be held in bondage. But Judaism understands that there's a lot more than that. And actually, the fact that the giving of the Torah comes 50 days after the Exodus is a lesson that we must understand that freedom when it stands by itself is insufficient. And the Sefer HaChinuch actually explains that the holidays of Pesach and Shavuot, which commemorate the Exodus and commemorate the giving of the Torah, are intertwined. We have a 50-day count of the Omer in between them, because the lesson is that freedom alone, without a sense of responsibility, without a purpose, without a mission, is not enough. Because, first of all, on a social level, when people feel only a sense of autonomy, without any personal sense of responsibility, society will devolve into anarchy. On an individual level, when it comes to who you are, if you don't have a sense of mission and purpose, if you don't understand that there are greater responsibilities than just indulging your own interests, then you too, your personality will collapse under the emptiness of meaninglessness. And so the lesson that the Torah gives us this week is that with freedom, one must find a sense of purpose. Otherwise, that freedom is completely meaningless. And one of the powerful anecdotes that comes from after World War II in the displaced persons camps, and the survivors in these camps often didn't have any family, their communities were very often ravaged, and they had very few friends. They were, in a sense, completely autonomous. No one could tell them what to do. And yet one of the powerful anecdotes that is related, and Esther Farbstein includes this in her Hidden in the Thunder. She tells about Dr. Isaac Lewin, who was an emissary of the Vat Hatzalah, who came to visit the displaced persons camps at the end of 1945. And in one of the camps in Forenwald, he comes and he sees that there, a group of the young men have created a makeshift yeshiva with svarim, with books, sitting and studying all day, with shiurim, with teachers giving them lessons, and he's overwhelmed. He can't believe that in Germany, there's now a yeshiva, and it's a yeshiva of survivors. And at the end of his dispatch, which he sent to the Morning Journal, he wrote, "Am I in Forenwald, in a DP camp on accursed soil, or in Slobodka of yore? Am I back in the Slobodka yeshiva?" This is that very lesson. These young men understood that maybe they had their freedom now after 5 years of horror, but that freedom meant that they needed to find a renewed sense of purpose. And that is exactly what they did. They taught a lesson that we teach every bar and bat mitzvah. Freedom alone is not enough.